All right, guys, I'm going to get started here. Appreciate you coming today. My name is Josh Wise, and I am the VP of Client Success here at rezStream. And my role here at rezStream is to make sure that we're taking care of clients, make sure that our departments and our solutions from the reservation software, websites, and internet marketing is functioning smoothly and that people are getting what they paid for. So that's a big role. So any comments, questions, concerns, compliments, I'm a great resource to provide that information to. And you can see on the screen here my email and my direct line. So love any and all feedback always. For those of you new to this webinar series, we try and do it once a month with a sole focus on the cloud PMS software, talking about new things that have come out, talking about things that are frequently coming up amongst our 600 plus clients in our support department. And then every webinar we record and we slap into this news and updates. So if you click on this bell in the upper right hand corner, click on latest news, you'll be able to see the recordings here under usability webinars. So that's where we stick all these. So if you join and you can't stay for the whole thing, just know within a couple days after the webinar, we record it and post it up there for you guys to come back and watch. So that's kind of high-level overview of myself and the purpose of these for those of you that are new. So I want to talk about a couple things today. I do my best to try and keep these 30 minutes or less to respect everyone's time. I know you guys are busy wearing multiple hats. And try to make them as impactful as possible. So today I want to talk about our latest release and just kind of show you guys the biggest change from that release, which is related to larger booking engine pictures. That's something that we've heard for a while now and something we were able to adjust into our current booking engine. As we all know, attention spans in today's day and age with cell phones and chat messaging and all that stuff, text messaging is very short. Same thing is to be said with those people looking online to book lodging properties. And as we all know, the saying goes, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So we wanted to make sure that we could really show off your guys' pictures of your units, of your property, your offering within the online booking engine. And then we'll go over a couple other things here, like adding and deleting users. You guys don't need to reach out to the support team to do that. You can manage that. And as working in business professionals, we all know that there is staff turnover. So you've likely experienced it before and you're likely going to experience it again. So I want to make sure that you're empowered to make those changes on your own. And then the last thing that I wanted to show is some occupancy map settings to make sure that you guys are able to customize, you know, kind of the look and feel of your occupancy map based on your specific desires. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in here and let's take a look at the online booking engine, and I'll show you guys kind of what's changed here. So if I jump in here to my booking engine, this is for my demo property, and I come in here at step 1 where I'm selecting dates. And I hit this next button. So pretend that I'm a visitor to your website. I'm on your website. If you are using our booking engine, this is what it's now going to look like with larger imagery. So if I hit this next button here, as I've entered my dates, I'm now going to get to my room selection phase, right? So here's an example of a unit that has no pictures, right? So for those of you people out there with no pictures, this is what yours is going to look like within reason, and we'll kind of talk through that. But the booking engine is a place where what you should think about, guys, is people, the guest, has their credit card out, they're ready to book, they've talked to their significant other or whomever they're traveling with or by themselves, and they're ready to make a purchase decision. They're entering dates that they'd like to come stay. And at this point, now we need to close this deal, if you will, and imagery is very important. So if you don't have pictures, please get them in there. It's crucial to the success of the conversion rate and making sure that people continue this booking process. As I scroll down here, you will see a unit with an actual room. So in my demo database, I'm changing the names to show people what can be done. So ignore the name, but the name of the unit comes up here, and obviously this isn't a pontoon boat. So the name of the unit is now above the picture with the capacity of that unit. So it's very clear what unit it is and how many people can fit into that particular unit. And then I have very, very large imagery. So for those of you that have been with rezStream for a while, this picture used to be small. It used to be right here, and then when you hovered over it, it would expand out, or you could click on it and get a larger version. Well, we've gone away with that old method, and now all imagery is large and in your face, if you will, to enhance the guest's visual knowledge of the experience that they're going to get with that room, right? So it is important that you guys have some pictures here that are accurately depicting the product, the room, and your property and the experience that a guest is going to have. Pictures are something that you should invest in and spend money on. It's not something you got to do twice a year or every other year, but having nice pictures not done from an old cell phone can do worlds of difference to show your potential guests what it is that they can experience. Okay, so with my large imagery, you see here, then you see the arrow buttons here, which are obviously a gallery indicator that I can navigate to other pictures by either moving forward or backwards, right? So this is industry standard stuff. Anyone that's ever been on the internet and clicked on pictures are used to functioning with a gallery in this manner. So this is very easy to use, and as you can see here, you can have multiple pictures. And then down below the picture here, guys, is the unit description. And so by default, we limit it to X amount of characters. I'm not sure what it is off the top of my head, but then you can see it's very user-friendly and very informative, very common sense driven. If I want to see more of that description of that particular unit that I'm on, I click the View Description button, and it then drops down and it can show me the full description itself without having to take any other actions. If I no longer want to see that description or it's not important to me, then I can close it down or not even engage. And then below that here is where you're going to see the pricing, okay? Now, what you see here is 3 different options, because in my demo property, I like to show people you have the ability to show multiple different rates. So if that applies to you, great, you're familiar with this. If you haven't used this before, now you are aware that you can display multiple different rates online. And when you're configuring those rates within the configuration section, you have the ability to toggle if you want those rates to be booked online or not. So for those of you that do that, it's very easy and intuitive here. And then down below, it will show the individual nightly rates for my date range selection. And then I have a very clear call to action of how to select that unit or continue this booking process, put it in my cart, however you'd like to describe that. And then the other thing that we offer, if it's important to you guys, is we also offer a rate description, okay? So that rate description, let's say you have an inclusive type rate or a package type rate, and you need to clearly convey to people the reason why this rate is more expensive is because I'm throwing in a package item of a boat or a hiking tour or roses, romance, whatever it is, right? So we offer the flexibility of not only the bigger pictures, but to scroll between, but more thorough descriptions of the unit for those of you that really like to wow them with your verbiage here, written verbiage. And then we have multiple rates, individual unit fees, as well as clear calls to action and rate descriptions, right? So as I scroll down, you'll see those pictures stay big in my face, have the ability to scroll, right? So hopefully what you guys are experiencing now is a better experience for your guests as they're getting into your online booking engine, which in essence is the last step in their buying journey, because they've done their research, they found your property, they know their dates, now they're picking their units and confirming that they're going to pay the rate in which you're asking for. And we want to make sure that we give them big, beautiful imagery along that process, so that way there's no reason for them to leave the booking engine and go back to the website and look for those nice, beautiful, large images, okay? So hopefully this is something that you guys see, and then on our end, with particular clients or whomever, we can track conversion rates and see if these pictures are making a difference, which I assume that they absolutely will be, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. Okay, so that kind of concludes what I wanted to show you guys as it related to our last release, which was about 2 weeks ago, give or take, and it was specifically centered around a large imagery. And for those of you that like to know exactly what it is that we're working on, again, if you click on this bell icon, go to latest updates, you can actually see under this cloud updates tabs, we list out every single thing that we do within a particular release, as well as the specific day and time that that release was delivered to what we call production, which is all of our clients. And so that way, not only can you see what we're working on and when we're releasing these things, but it also shows you how frequently we're doing these things, right? So it's not like that we're over here twiddling our thumbs and we think everything is perfect and we don't want to enhance the product. We're constantly grinding on this solution all day, every day. And so we did a release 2 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months, 3 months, 4 months, and so on. And we want to share with you all of our blood, sweat, and tears that we're putting into these releases so that you guys are familiar with them. Okay, so that covers that. Next thing I want to move on to, and I'm about halfway through here, guys, is I want to talk a little bit about empowering you to both add new users to your reservation software if you get a new employee, as well as removing users from the reservation software if an unfortunate situation happens where you have some staff turnover, which it happens to all of us. So over in my navigation on the left-hand side, the meat and potatoes of where everything gets set up is under configuration. So I will navigate to configuration. And then under the Your Business heading or section, you're going to see Users, which is where we can manage both the users and their permissions. So if I open up this Users here, you are going to see a list of all the users within my database, the email that they're tied to, and when they basically accepted the invitation in which we sent them. So let's start by adding a user. So in the upper right-hand corner where most of our actionable buttons are, whether it's adding something or saving something. So if I navigate to the upper right-hand corner and I hit add user, it's pretty self-explanatory, and the information that I need to add is also pretty easy, right? So what is that person's name? So first and last name, and what is their email? Okay, and this is the email that's going to be tied to this person's account. And once we save this user, the system is going to automatically fire off an email with instructions for how they can log in, create their user account, and it'll be tied to that email. They create their own password that no one else can see. You can't see it. I can't see it here at rezStream on the back end for privacy reasons, right? And before we save this user and fire that email off, we got to come down here and we got to say, okay, here's what we want you to have access to. So you can see currently by default, any new user that you create has permissions for nothing. They can't do anything. And we do this for security reasons, right? But as you're creating these users, you need to go in and you need to determine what it is that they can have access to. So can they, under the reservations, you see that you have the ability to, if at this higher level I click this, it gives them access to everything. But if I don't want them to have access to everything, maybe it's a housekeeper and I only want them to be able to view reservations but not be able to do anything else, I would do something like this before I saved it. If it's a front desk staff, typically you want them to have access to be able to view reservations, generate, add reservations, make payments, edit them, void payments. I've got some properties where they don't want to allow people to void any of the payments, although they can take them. And they don't want to be able to allow people to cancel or delete any reservations because they want managers' approval for that. So you can pick and choose what it is that you want to give them access to, okay? As I go down to the next heading or section here within the program, the occupancy map, you have the same thing, right? You have the overarching permission that gives them access to everything, or from there you can then choose one by one what it is that you want to give them access to, right? And then probably a good or something that's very, not sticky, but something that properties want to kind of maybe lock down, if you will, is some reporting stuff, right? So do I want to allow employees, front desk staff, housekeepers, maintenance folks to be able to have access to run reports from a financial perspective on the business? Probably not. That's typically for the owner or a high-level manager, right? So you can then come in here and you can control what reports they have access to. A big one is housekeepers. They need to be able to run the housekeeping report so they know who's coming and going, what units need to be cleaned or are dirty, but they don't need to have access to any of the financial data, so you can control that. Another big one within the permissions, guys, is the configuration data, right? So typically your owners, your managers are the ones that are able to add, remove units, control pricing on rates, things of that nature, right? So this is a big one that maybe we don't want to allow permissions of all users to have. But once we're done there, and we hit that save button and we've configured all of our permissions, we hit that save button, then it automatically fires that email out and it adds them to the alphabetical list here of that particular user. And then obviously with any user that's been created, I can then come in here and I can resend an invite. Maybe they didn't get it, it went to their junk mail or what have you from there, change their permissions, right? Okay, so that's empowering you on how to add new users as you gain staff members. And then the other thing I want to show you here, guys, is we had an unfortunate incident. We had a user or a staff member, if you will, no longer here. We had some turnover and we need to be able to remove all permissions and access to anything in the future, right? We don't want anybody doing any malicious activity, as well as for security purposes. We don't want anybody making any mistakes. So this user has moved on from my fake property. So I'm going to come in here and you'll notice this bad boy had access to everything, right? So obviously I need to take care of this, and it's simply I'm deleting this user, okay? And now what you'll notice here is I'm just going to click it again. Once I hit this delete button, that's not a finality type of situation here, because maybe you accidentally clicked on that. You're going real fast. You're going through all these users. You're adding, you're removing. Oh, crap, I made a mistake. So when you hit this delete button, we basically say what I call, are you sure you're sure? Are you really sure you're sure here? Okay, and in order to be really sure that you understand what's being done here, we put it in red, we put the little exclamation here, and we say, are you sure you want to delete this guy here? This cannot be undone in bold with exclamation point. So hopefully whoever's back here doing this is paying attention. And then from there, in order to actually delete this user for good, which cannot be undone, you've got to type that person's name in here exactly as it's seen on the screen. So I'm going to do that here. And now it gives me the option to actually delete that user. Now what happens if I come in here and I don't type it in exactly as it's telling me to? It will not give me the access to, are you sure you're sure you want to delete this guy? So just pay attention to that here. So slow down as you're going through things and deleting things, right? Because a lot of times when you delete it, it cannot be undone. We do not have a magic button to go back in time and help you out here, okay? So make sure that you're positive of what you're doing here. Make sure that you type it in as it's being asked, and then I'm going to delete that user. And Andrew is no longer on my alphabetical list here, so I have removed that user. I'm going to do the same thing here just so it's not muddying up what I got going on here. Okay, so that covers the last release of the booking engine large imagery, showed you where to go get that information as well, and we've gone through and empowered you on how to add users and delete users. Pretty basic stuff, but it is something that you all will experience or have already experienced. So it's important that you know how to do it. You feel confident in doing it. It's not something you need to reach out to the support team to get help on. It's something you can do in a matter of seconds here if you'd like to. I'm not saying don't call support. Obviously, we're here to help. So if you need it, use it. But want to show you guys how to do it as well. Okay, got about 9 minutes here. And the last thing that I want to show you here is related to the occupancy map. So hopefully most of you that have been on the system are familiar with the occupancy map settings. If you're not, this will be a good refresh, as well as this is good for our newer customers coming on board and attending these webinars for the first couple of times here. So within the occupancy map, in our old system, in most reservation softwares that I've seen, which are dozens and dozens, they typically have a one-size-fits-all, right? You can have this view, or this view, and I don't care what size t-shirt you need. You're either getting small, medium, or large, and it is what it is. So that's what it is, right? Well, not with what we want to do with rezStream Cloud. We want to give you options. We're very big on options. We're very big on customization for your particular property, okay? So within my occupancy map, I have the ability to control some settings here, some view settings on the occupancy map. So I want to go through those with you. So you'll notice here right now, I've got, call it, whatever, 10, 15 units here, and then I've got a bunch of blank space here. And so it's not really filling out my whole screen. And you'll notice some of these cells, for those of us with bad eyes, maybe these cells aren't big enough for us here. They're a little bit harder to read and we're squinting or what have you. So you've got the ability to control that. So let's go look at some of the options within our occupancy map settings. The first thing that I want to do is I want to talk about display settings, even though it's at the bottom here. This is a big one for a lot of people. So if I come into display settings here, I can actually control not only what my weekends are, which is pretty standard, you set it and you forget it. I can show if I want units to be displayed as clean, dirty on the occupancy map, and that is with these check marks here, green and red, and if I hover over, you see it shows me clean versus dirty, so that's what that settings is, right? But then I can actually control the width and height here, okay? So I'm just gonna write down what I have it on, so I've got it at 60 width and 32 height, right? And we've got some reset buttons. Reset buttons reset it to what rezStream defaulted it to out of the box, if you will, which is 150 and 50. And you'll notice it shows me a preview of what those cells are going to look like, right? So if I hit save on that default, it's going to take me back to the occupancy map. And now you see I've got a lot bigger units and cells here, both width and height, right? I can more easily see the units as well as the pricing within those units. I don't have any empty white space at the bottom, but one thing you'll notice is I do have to scroll down to see those last couple of units here. So it stops at meeting 2, and I've got these other 2 fake units here for whatever I'm using them for, and I've got to scroll down to get to them. So if you want to see bigger units, bigger cells, width and height, you can do so, and then that may fill up the screen for you. Now, keep in mind, this is not user specific, okay? So we did not build this to be, you've got 20 different users and all 20 users can control the occupancy map settings for each individual user. That gets a little bit more complicated and can slow down the loading of the occupancy map, which we absolutely want to avoid. So this is property-wide, or as we call it, database-wide for your property. So the owner or manager or y'all, draw straws, or whoever gets to pick, or however you decide these things, whatever you set it as is going to be for every single user, okay? Now, if I have a lot of units, maybe I've got 50 units, and boy, I want to see all 50 of those suckers on this map, maybe I don't really care how small it gets because it's very important to me without having to do a whole bunch of scrolling. I really want to see all my units, available units on here, which is why I may have some white space. So you'll see I've got all my dang units here and I don't want to scroll, but maybe I don't like the white space. So I got to come back and forth here and I got to play around a little bit here with some of these settings to get it to where it needs to be and pay attention to what they are before I save it. So you may have to do some playing around here to get it to fit the sizes, right? Okay, so that's settings as it relates to display settings, height, width, and those things. So play around with those things. And then now what I want to do is I want to show you some occupancy map colors and unit colors. Let's just go to unit colors. I'll work bottom up here. So I have the ability to color some units here, right? So do I want to, on the left-hand side, do I want to show a property color bar? So let's click that here and let's save it. Let's jump back out and see what that does to our occupancy map. So what it's done over here is it's giving me on the left-hand side the ability to control some unit colors. So maybe I want all my, let's say you return by unit type. Maybe I want all my queens a certain color. Maybe I want all my kings a certain color. Maybe I want all my jacuzzi suites a certain color. So that way for your front desk staff taking reservations, it's very easy to know that blue is queen and green is king and red is all my jacuzzi suites. So it's very easy if someone calls up and says, hey, do you have any jacuzzi suites available this weekend? Yeah, I do. They're all available. Which one are you looking for, right? Another practical example, if you don't return by unit type and you return by individual units, maybe your John Wayne room has beautiful views of the mountain, whereas your Marilyn Monroe room has beautiful views of the parking lot, okay, and you want to distinguish colors on your occupancy map between those. Maybe a better practical example is maybe I've got certain units on the ground floor, second floor, third floor, so you can kind of control or use those color settings for those particular things. And if we jump back in here to unit colors, guys, you can change either just a little bar or you can do the whole entire unit a specific color if you wanted to do that. So what that's going to do is that's going to color out the whole dang thing. So maybe you don't like the little bar on the left-hand side, but you want the whole dang unit to be colored that specific color, you can absolutely do so. Or this also gives you the ability to use both, right? So maybe I want that bar on the left-hand side because that indicates one thing, and maybe I want the color of the unit, the whole thing, because that indicates another thing, right? So you have the flexibility to do those things, as well as if you don't like the dang color, you can make that color whatever the heck you want from this little pick chart graph thing. So if you love pink or purple or whatever the heck it is that you love, you can make those changes and save it, and you're going to get those colors out here, right? So a lot of flexibility. So I want you to be thinking about your specific property. What are the things it is that are unique to your units, whether it's the ground floor, second floor, third floor, maybe it's views, maybe it's specific amenities, jacuzzi tubs, larger bathrooms, twin beds versus one single king bed, or the ability to do both of those. Maybe you've got units that are adjoined that you can sell separately or together as one big unit. So you can use those colors on the occupancy map, and you have the flexibility to do so. This, in my personal opinion, in my database, hurts my eyes. So I'm going to go undo that because I do not like it. And then I'm going to save that. And all those hideous colors kind of go away. Okay, last thing I want to show you here is some occupancy colors, right? Now, by default, out of the box, because it's what we did in our old system and it's what our clients had preferred, is we control payment status of reservations by default, red, yellow, green. So red is we've taken no payment on a reservation, yellow is we've taken a partial payment, green is we've taken a full payment. As you can see here, I have changed those colors in my system just to kind of show people the flexibility. But if I wanted to reset those things, I click these reset buttons and it'll reset it. But just like anywhere you see this little color drop, you can come in here and play with the colors however you want. You'll notice that we have some other colors in here. As we click and drag to make a new selection, it turns this light blue, and if we mark something out of service, it turns black. So you'll get used to these things here as you're doing things. So let me just take you back here and let me click and drag and make a selection. It's going to be that light blue shade of color, right? So for those of you that are red, green, or blue, yellow colorblind, you've got the ability to make some changes here. And then if I were to actually mark this unit out of service, we've got that black color here. And as I unclick that selection, you'll see that black color. So you'll see you've got some flexibility here. Now, for those of you that want nothing to do with your reservations being colored on payment status, here we have the ability to toggle over to InHouse Status, where your colors are going to be specifically related to checked in, checked out, future reservation no-shows, and cancels. So if you want to ignore the payment status, but you do want to work off an in-house status, you can do so. And let me just make a reservation here just to show you the flexibility. So I'll make a reservation. I'm going to book it. Let me just do test. And let me go through with this real quick. Continue. I am actually going to book without confirmation, but I do want to put a deposit payment on here just to kind of show you. So I'm going to do a 50% deposit. I'm going to make a payment, a fake payment on there. And then I'm going to come back to the occupancy map because I want to show you that particular reservation. So I am now looking off in-house status. I'm no longer looking off payment status. So this particular person is purple because it indicated a reservation that maybe is not checked in. I don't remember specifically, but in the bottom right-hand corner, we're still showing you payment status of that red, yellow, green, and because I've taken a partial payment, it's yellow, if you remember that. So although you toggled your occupancy map to display by in-house status, we're still trying to show you the payment status here, so that way you don't actually have to click on the reservation and then come down here and look to see if they've made a payment. We want to display that to you at the high level so you don't have to take any clicks to get that information. So long story short, within the occupancy map, guys, you have the ability for settings, whether it's display, specific unit for whatever reasons, to indicate types or individual rooms or whatever it is that you want to track, as well as you have the ability to control if you want things displayed on the occupancy map either by payment status, which is what we default of, or in-house status, and you saw the flexibility to customize colors and change it to whatever you want, toggle back and forth. Just remember, you always hit save, and that'll save those changes for you. Okay, I'm 2 minutes over time, my apologies. So to recap what we covered today, in the upper corner, if you click this bell, you can see the latest releases within our cloud updates, what we're working on. We record all of these things, so if you don't watch them or you miss a session or whatever it is, you can always come back and see it. We talked about the big, beautiful imagery on your booking engine and the importance of those, and those will make a difference. So make sure that you guys are using nice big pictures there and you actually invest in some good photography, not your daughter's brother's boyfriend's third cousin using his cell phone that's 4 years old, right? It's important, so let's take advantage of it. And then we talked about adding and deleting users within configuration user settings here. And then lastly, on the occupancy map, we reviewed the flexibility and customization that we offer within our program to be able to change the look and feel and colors here. So hopefully that provided some value to you guys. If you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, or feedback, love to hear about it. Here's my personal email. Here's my direct line. Please feel free to reach out to me. I absolutely want to hear from everyone on everything. No question's a bad question, and no feedback is bad feedback, okay? So please share. Appreciate you guys' time. Thank you so much, and look forward to hearing from you and sharing more of these with you in the future. Have a wonderful day. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.